Go flat tracker. Go flat tracker. Go, go, go.
Club and Flat Track Pod brought to you by our partners. ShredDesign.co. If you're looking for the sickest jersey prints in the biz, look no further than ShredDesign.co on Facebook. Europa Fencing, the place to go for all your rural fencing needs. Classic wheel spokes, Otway Hydro Blasting, make your old girl look new again. Plus, our newest partner, MX Inc. Do you want your bike to stand out in the crowd with custom graphics done by the best? Then contact Luca and the team at MX Inc. And last but not least, Clava, keeping you on track for longer. Now, onto the episode.
Okay, so welcome to another the Clava Flat Track podcast, and we've got a really awesome one today with Caitlin and Shane. I've forgotten your surname, Roger. Roger Osberg. Sorry, how can I forget that? All the way over, you might notice they've got a funny accent. Well, if you live in the same country, it's not funny to you. But all the way over in America, thank you so much for coming on, guys. It is nighttime where you are yesterday, which it gets confusing if you think about it too much. How's things?
We're always a little behind over here.
It's all right. We're in Western Ohio. We're used to being back in the past.
I know very next to nothing about America and time zones and where everything sits. So when Caitlin said we're Eastern Standard Time, I looked it up. And somehow I got 12 hours, but you're actually 14 hours behind me. But luckily, a couple text messages and we fixed that up. Obviously, you're into racing. There's a few numbers behind you there, a flat track bike behind you. Yeah, let's just get into it and tell me how you guys got into racing. You're also a married couple. Do you both race? Yeah, let me know the background.
So it started back in 1966, actually. My grandmother and grandfather started, Grandma wrote Kawasaki in Japan.
Oh, nice.
And so my grandparents started what is now one of the oldest remaining Kawasaki dealerships in the United States.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so that was the foundation. Grandpa had a love for motorcycles, worked on them first, and then my parents met at a flat track race. And a lot of people in our sport, in fact, we have one guy that says flat track saved his life, and for me, it gave me life because that's where my parents met.
Yeah, okay.
And then we actually met because Shane's dad worked for Kawasaki and had the connection through the family. So it's been in our blood for a long time. I grew up racing motocross. And then when we moved to back to Ohio, he was born and raised in California. And when we moved back, we started riding moto. And then my dad got back into flat track. And next thing you know, we both had a pair of Sunday bikes. Are those big over there?
There's a few of them, but we don't have a class for them or anything, unfortunately. I'd like to see that happen, though, because they're a lot of fun, I hear.
Yeah. You see quite a few of them around by us. They consider that into a Mad Dog class, which is air-cooled up to 200 cc's, is where you'll see those bikes running in, along with like the CRF 150s.
Yeah.
And those
we don't
get. Sorry, Caitlin.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, are they CRF 150Rs or are they Fs? Are they allowed to be an R?
That's a good question.
That's what I was just going to say is we don't get into the technicalities of the Mad Dog class because the Mad Dog riders are very particular, and there's a Wildcat and there's a Mad Dog, and I don't have enough time to learn the rule difference between both of them. But those that ride the class are very passionate about it, and we have somebody on our team who does.
And we don't have a dog or a cat in the fight. So we just stay out of it.
We used to. So we started racing flat track together on the Sunday bikes, and then he decided he wanted a 450. Our little boy Owen, who's 7, he races. He started on a P-Dub and he's now on a KTM senior 50 senior bike. So it's in the family. We love doing it because we get to go camp as a family and spend time a lot of times at our local track, Triangle Motorcycle Club in Harpster. We have 4 generations at the track, on race week.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So you only have the one child, one son?
Yes.
Yeah, we're all 3 of us are selfish together. We're all only children. So.
That's fantastic. And I'm assuming that the bike behind you is a KX 450 with white plastics. Is that right?
It is correct.
That is correct. Also, basically, I mean, you're familiar with these bikes. We run the 19-inch wheels, and Yeah, with a little bit of a lowering of the suspension, you're basically just taking a standard motocross bike and putting it out there on the half miles and short tracks. So
we
Yeah,
call them
awesome.
DTXs over here. What do you call them DTXs there?
I do personally.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't really. Well, this will be technically the second year where we're running twins at a sort of national level. And they're not
Okay.
twins in the respect of your twins over there. They're not quite as stripped backed and modified, and with all the hottest, lightest parts. They're pretty like my one. I'm building an XG750 at the moment. It's pretty much a street bike with a tailboard and some 19s on it at this stage. So on a slip-on pipe. So yeah, they're not quite as advanced, but I think we'll get there, and they seem to be growing in popularity. Sorry. So yeah, so it's mainly the dirt bikes or MX bikes conversion at the moment, and the same with Australian dirt track. And I think that's one of the reasons Australia dirt track actually exists and got quite big, because of just like we spoke about off here, using the 21-inch front wheel. There's not much to change, just to either put a Trials 19 on the back or put a 18 Trials, which is the most common, a Michelin, because they're the best performing. Yeah, and it just made it a cheap form of racing. But it never sort of expanded from there. And that's where I think the 19 DTX bike changes things up, like I mentioned, tying us in with the rest of the world and creating more of a growth platform. So yes, in a long answer to your question, we do look at them as DTX bikes, I think now. But
and
yeah,
you
we
guys
never
are
had those twins. So
you guys
sorry,
are
Shane.
competing a lot in sand type environment.
Yeah, so a loose track. We do have harder tracks. We have oil tracks over here still. But that's more New South Wales. Victoria's a little bit shy on that sort of thing. We only had until recently we had 3 main tracks, and now we've got a couple speedway clubs and that sort of coming in as well, and another one that's got 2 tracks that hopefully will be licensed again very soon. And one of them is actually an old oil track, so that's quite a different surface. It's not as loose, I believe. So that will probably be pretty well suited to 19s. Yeah, really for the AFTN, which is the Aussie Flat Track Nationals, you're traveling, for me, you're traveling 10 to 13 hours sort of minimum. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So actually, how I got onto you guys was through a man named Dane, Holmvest, who lives up in Queensland, which is 24 hours away from where I am. And he's got a fantastic story, which I'm not going to go into too much because I'm going to have him on the pod, so I don't want to ruin it. But he travels around with his 9-year-old George, who you guys are helping out a bit, and that's how we got onto you. Is he told me the story, and yeah, I think it's unbelievable. So we'll sort of move along onto how we doing, Roger, that racing. That's the first note I've actually written down, because it's quite a long name. First note I've written down for a while on my pad. But yeah, how did this all happen? How did you get in touch with Dane, or how did he get in touch with you?
The internet is a wild thing, and a lot of time it's used for the good. And I'm not quite sure who or how exactly Dane came across How We Doing Roger That Racing. I know Rory McWalter, who races flat track over there, came over last year for nationals, and we were able to help him and his dad out a bit with logistics and stuff for his bike through the dealership. And he actually won his entry giveaway at the first race that I think they landed
awesome.
like 12 hours prior, and then came to a race, and he put his name in the hat and won his entry fee back.
Yeah, we got to kind of see the rigmarole of how the Australians were coming over for this once in a lifetime opportunity. Basically just kind of flying by the seat of their pants, but like they all kind of seem to have it under control, from renting the motorhome to stuffing the motorcycle into the motorhome to get it to the track, to then, renting a U-Haul trailer along the way to, better outfit the rig. And basically doing whatever it takes to get to nationals, where they competed for a whole entire week of all the different disciplines. And and seeing Andy and Rory do it together as father and son was pretty inspiring to us, and to a lot of other father son mother duos, trios that are out.
So when Dane first landed in my messenger inbox on Facebook, I initially thought, what spam message is this? Because it was something I didn't know. And then I read through it and I was like, oh my gosh, I instantly got excited. And it was like, whatever we can do to help. Spoiler alert, Georgie's having his 10th birthday here. So don't tell him, but maybe he's going to have a party.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Hopefully, Dane, if you're listening to this, block George's ears.
Yeah, block Georgie's ears. It's okay if he knows. He can get excited.
He should know that he's turning 10 at least. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's aware of that.
So he kind of told me what they had going on, and he already had a dealer lined up for a bike, which is totally okay. We're happy to help. However, and then he saw that Moto Shippers came on board as a big partner for us new this year. And it's like, if I can use them to transport the bike, and actually we just got Georgie's graphics in today. They came in today. So we'll have them on the bike and ready to go for them, and hopefully be able to show them some good old American hospitality, at least Midwest hospitality.
It's quite a daunting task to take on, and stretch for them, and we would understand doing the same thing, being resourceful in our own right, but to go to a complete foreign land, I'm not even sure what their level of travel is, if they've done something like this before, but just having somebody, or kind of like the pin cushion, so to speak, at the racetrack. So it's kind of we're the hub, we're the information desk,
Howie Doin Roger That Racing is the hub, and it was born out of a passion to give back to a sport that has given so much to us, and we were sort of motivated to do so after my grandfather Howard, who started the Kawasaki dealership, passed away back in October of 21, sorry. And we knew we wanted to give back, and
he's always been at the track. He's
had riders in the past. Dougie Davis, if Americans are listening, everybody pretty much knows that name from back in the day. My dad raced with him. Grandpa Roger, my dad's dad, was he's in the AMA Hall of Fame for the Old Time Charity Newsies. And so it's a family thing, and we wanted to give back on a bigger level to more people than just saying like, oh, we're going to have a team and we're going to help out 2 or 3 riders primarily.
Yeah.
So we brainstormed names, and then all of a sudden Shane came up with
Howie Doin Roger That, incorporating 2 of the grandfather's names, and then just kind of like as a reminder, like check in on everybody, how we doing?
Yeah.
And then Roger That is our I don't know if it's CB terminology there for the truckers, but Roger That is, I don't know if that translates.
Yeah. Kind of like over and out, like I hear you,
Yeah.
So
it's awesome. Yeah. I was wondering if there was any military influence in there or anything like that, but no, it doesn't sound like it. But,
just homage to the grandfathers, and maybe homage to the truckers that created the lingo. But
it's an awesome concept, actually. I was looking through your page just before, just to refresh what I'd looked at a week ago when I first reached out to you. And it looks like you get around a lot and you're helping a lot of people. You're getting other businesses to cooperate and work together and fight for the cause, so to speak, which is, I think it seems everywhere in the world. So we've spoken to the Netherlands, New Zealand, America a couple times now, in the pits, paddock, whatever you want to call it. The camaraderie of the dirt track or flat track family seems to be very similar. And I think this is sort of where my business was focused at too, is bringing 19s to Australia, is that it's just reaching that arm and making that arm even longer, reaching it out more to other places. So hopefully we can reciprocate, even if it's not through an organisation exactly like what you guys are doing, just the dirt track family hear about what you guys do there, and I know there'll be at least 10 guys that I know straight up that would say, yeah, if you need a hand, we can get you a bike or lend you a bike or give you a place to stay or drive you to here. And I'm pretty sure that would happen there without blinking my eyes. Actually, it's fantastic to see you guys doing a more organised effort. And that's why when Dane told me about it, I went, I've just got to reach out and have a chat to you. It's pretty inspirational, actually. It's awesome. And I don't know if you guys find the same thing. Sounds like you've been around a few different paddocks, motocross and stuff. If you think that flat track is a friendlier environment, I mean, obviously it gets competitive and you have your blues and stuff, but seems that if you need a spark plug or your exhaust falls off, someone's always got a spare one. Does that sound right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I feel like motocross, because it's grown so much here, it's almost like it becomes cliquey of the sorts, and it's still family oriented, but at flat track, it is very much community based. And like Shane said, HDRT is a hub. I feel like everybody comes to us, and even if somebody's having a bad day unrelated to motorcycles, they still come to us because they just know that they're going to find comfort, because that's just what we aim to bring to the track. And yeah, we've seen it happen. We've seen 50 riders giving radiator hoses to other riders.
People loaning out their bikes, 50 riders where their bikes are, quitting on a Saturday night, being able to have a bike for that rider, the following Sunday, to where, they don't have to pack up and go home.
In fact, we had our neighbor pull Owen's PW50
out of the shed
and bring it to the track for a Sunday because another kid's bike is Saturday. And it's just little things like that.
But those people are back this year, bigger and better than
ever.
And
they might have not been.
They upped their game to a KTM, and they're making this part of their lifestyle now. And it was something that they were just taking a leisurely stroll at on a Saturday evening.
I think it was like one of those it was like a weed eater motor that they had.
Yeah, it was the Briggs and Stratton, kind of like a chopper 50. Yeah. So
yeah, cool.
But
did you call it a weed eater? Is that like for trimming the footpath? Yeah, that's funny. In New Zealand, because I'm originally from New Zealand, we call them weed eaters. Over here, they call them a whippersnipper. So I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think we had similar lingo to the Americans.
He's from Ohio, born and raised, so they have different slang than the rest of America. So,
but I'm gonna start calling it a whippersnipper. I like saying
you just opened up the can of worms to Western.
Yeah, and we even went so far as to, there was one 85 rider that crashed one night and hit his head, and I knew his helmet had done its job, and I'm like, I told his dad, don't send him back out there in that helmet. Like, it's not going to do its job again.
Yeah.
And another rider overheard me saying that, and he went back to the pits and got his full face half-mile helmet and was like, here, he can wear my helmet. I've never crashed in it before. And he didn't have a backup helmet for the next day if that one got crashed in, but he selflessly was, going to volunteer his helmet to protect another rider's head who he's close with, but they're not like best buddies or anything. He didn't have to do that.
No, and that's these little opportunities to where we can see others inspiring others, and it kind of just feeds a good positive energy within the paddock or pits. HDRT has become so much more than just free entry giveaways brought to you by our gracious sponsors, but it's trying to put the whole complete package together to bring a more positive flow to everybody's race program, whether it's nutritional supplements, which we're big and heavy on, and taking care of your body, and
healthy snacks at the track.
Yes, healthy snacks at the track, not to take away from the concession stands of number 5 nacho cheese, on everything, but to actually figure out the balance and like how the body works, and Kate being very holistic and kind of a hands-on healer through massage therapy throughout her life. She's able to bring all of the knowledge that she's acquired over the years and show like athletes, whether they're top tier athletes or they're just, your average weekend warriors, little changes and little things you can do to definitely improve your program.
Yeah, it's interesting you say athletes and the different tiers, because I think a lot of races, especially the weekend warriors, don't see themselves as an athlete. Yeah, I think it is important that they realise, especially with the dangers of the sport, that okay, you might not go out there to win, you might be going out there just to have fun and ride, but you should still think about your joints and being flexible. So when that off does happen, because we know it's going to happen at some stage,
Yep.
yeah, there's less likely a chance that you end up in hospital. You just get up a few bruises and a few aches and come back next week or in a fortnight. So, I'm 100% on your program. Something that I've been trying to promote as well over here with Plava. Yes, we are a brand, we sell products, but that was more to pay for my racing. But it's also to lift. We don't have a pro rank over here, so to lift the sort of quality of how to think about yourself and that you are an athlete, especially our top riders over here. Just to remind them that they actually are very good and they're focused and that they should keep going the way they are, and we'll hopefully present them with a professional sort of level series, which Dave Maddock, the founder of AFTN, is now sort of doing. And yeah, hopefully one day we'll have paid riders and similar to you guys. But just, yeah, that whole thing about being an athlete, I think it's sort of understated here and slowly growing more and more. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And one of the things that annoys me with our canteens is the junk food. It's pies and chips and
it's trying to up everyone's game, like just kind of, that mind mentality, 1% better every day, so it's things that, we take for granted because we've been living that lifestyle for quite a while now. And just kind of, showing the options of what's out there without, completely killing the vibe of how somebody's, going about their nutritional, lifestyle. But, and then also bringing like-minded sponsors in on board. Like Hio is a non-alcoholic social tonic that, we promote and
sample at some events. And it's just, and for any race mom out there, I don't think Hio's in Australia yet, but they will be one day. And it's for a race mom, it is necessary on race day because it has ashwagandha and L-theanine in it, calms the adrenals. Yeah. I'm at least 2 deep by the time my boys hit the track.
From memory, ashwagandha is pretty good for the male as well, isn't it? For a man.
Oh yeah. It's good for everybody, but a lot of race moms have to watch. If I'm watching my husband and my son on the track, I'm better off if I'm racing because then I'm not so worried about everybody else.
Yeah. My wife actually doesn't come to the races anymore. After my last one, which was a collarbone, she said, "That's it, I'm not coming." So, yeah. I wish she did actually, but it's sort of good that she doesn't, because it did turn out there was a pattern. My last few big injuries was when she came to watch, so maybe there maybe there was something in it.
Yeah, there's ebbs and flows. We see it from time to time. We see, where some wives will take off a few year hiatus and then they circle back around. Most of it is really hard to avoid.
And then we put them back to work. HDRT booth.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeps them occupied.
Yeah, I actually think that might be her fear, that she'll be pulled into the scoring tower or something like that.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Which we should give a big shout out to all of the people that work the tracks around here, because it is a big deal, and without them, we don't get to do what we love to do. And so I think there's some of the most underappreciated people in our sport, and a lot of times the riders forget that without them we don't have events.
Yeah, because we're paying $50-$60 to maybe race that class that day,
most of them are volunteers.
Most of them are volunteer, and they're not seeing a cent from it. So
yeah, well, that's really that's a global thing, and I second and third and fourth that statement to every volunteer and track official around the world, because they are underappreciated, and it's another common thing that we have between countries. It's not just the vibe in the flat track pits, but volunteers sort of being taken advantage of, being yelled at when a rider's not happy, and it doesn't entitle you just because you've paid some cash to go racing. That's 100%. Also, something I wanted to touch on is your class structure there in amateurs, because a lot of people that look at America will be looking at the National Pro Series, which obviously has a more limited class structure, no juniors in it and that sort of thing. What classes do you run in the amateur sites? Quite a few, isn't it?
Depends on the promoter. One of what we consider our home track, which is about 2 hours from us in Harpster, Ohio at Triangle Motorcycle Club. They pretty much have a class for everyone, 50cc junior, senior, 65s, 85s, Mad Dog junior and senior. They try and split the kids from the adults with the Mad Dog class. Again, not getting into those technicalities. Age group classes, 30.
250cc.
That's what I said, junior and senior.
Yeah.
And then there's,
But then 250cc amateur.
Open amateur 450M, and then age group classes that are open classes. So 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus. They even had a 70 plus class 2 years ago.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, it's good if you can swing a leg over, why not?
Yeah.
It's swinging it back off the bike.
Is that so? You're saying, Shane, that there's someone in the pits ready to catch them when they come back in, or?
Yes, it's a hydration game at that point.
The one class that I feel like we're missing, I know I listened to a couple of your other podcasts, and I know you guys have a women's class over there. That's something that's definitely missing, and we just have to, and which is part of the reason I don't race, is because I don't feel comfortable racing in the 30 plus class against those guys. There's old pros in the 30 plus class. I don't want to race against them. It's not safe.
A beginner novice class,
and a beginner novice, like an open beginner class, I think, and we're pushing for that. It's just a matter of getting the people to turn out. Like this last weekend on Saturday, we had a fun ride day up there, and that was geared towards getting new riders that haven't maybe been on a flat track that want to try it out. And like Shane lent his bike out. My dad had 2 bikes, and he had different people on them every time they went out on the track that were motocross people that just wanted to give it a try.
And what was the feedback you got from them?
Everybody loved it. I mean,
it is a different feeling. Like, it's everything that you've learned on a motorcycle and flipped, almost upside down, as far as, the whole turn right to go left, and, just the feeling. This was actually on a cushion pea gravel half mile. So that feeling altogether is completely different than any kind of tarmac or road or clay style track. So
I think I saw some video on your page of that one. It might have been. It was definitely a pea gravel track anyway. It looks interesting. That's looks like it must be pretty slick, is it?
Yeah, it's a lot of pea gravel, so it depends. Race preparation week before the weekend is a lot of digging up of the track, and they're
saturating it with water.
So kind of bringing the true cushion to the track to where it doesn't feel like you're sliding across on marbles, to where it almost kind of like holds the bike, when you're coming in, and you're able to kind of scrub the tires and use that for your traction and your braking, and to get lined up to go straight again.
So you guys stick mainly to the 450. You don't have a twin?
No twins.
No twin in this budget.
No.
No, you don't see a lot of twins at the amateur level.
Okay.
There's a few out there.
Some road taxes.
And they'll run in like the age class. So like there's oftentimes there could be some twins running, like if I'm running the 30, 40 plus class, you can run basically anything that you have. It's an open to what you got in the trail.
It's a framers, twins, whatever.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
And so you might be able to fill me in on this because have had a look. Did the 19-inch come from like post-war from the bikes that were built at that time? Is that where the wheel size is? Why does America run 19-inch? Do you know?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know if it had something to do with like kind of the super motar,
Yeah, but they did. It was before that, I think. I don't know. I'll ask my dad and I'll get back to you on that since he's
that'd be awesome. Yeah, because I've sort of looked into the history. I know, was it Bert Sumner's that runs the website? I can't think of the name of it now. It might be on there even. I should have a look at that one. It's got a lot of history on his website, I believe. So that probably you might tell me about that.
That's the Fairyland Classic website. Yes. I think it has a lot.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it will have that specific fact on there, but it might give me some clues. But from the digging I have done, it seems to be that the bikes that were made when they started sort of racing oval tracks all had 19-inch wheels. So I wonder if it just carried across from that.
That could very well. That would make sense.
Yeah, and I think it was always probably something to do with the gearing. It was always, that's what flat track's all about is, figuring out, the precise gearing for that day and that condition on, any said track. So,
yeah. I watched a documentary about board racing in America. I think it's called Limits or Fearless. I can't remember.
Yeah. I just saw it not long ago.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I didn't even think about bicycles until I saw that. So yeah, motorcycles turning into bicycles and those board racing and how dangerous it was. But I've got to imagine that being a spectator at one of those events would have been fantastic. And I think that I don't know about you guys, but so we have the kidney bean shaped tracks here, which is called dirt track here, and then track is just an oval track. So some of the kidney bean shaped tracks, our dirt track, you don't have that great a viewing point. Like you miss half of the race because it's down yonder. And I sort of look at that board racing and just think, yeah, that's the ultimate spectator track, is to be on basically above the track where you can see everything and everything going on. Do you have lots of track in your area that are great for spectators? And does the amateur racing bring good crowds as far as spectating?
I wish I could say yes, it always brings great spectators, but Lima, I mean, all of the what we call fair tracks, they're the horse racing tracks, and they all have a nice grandstands. And during fair events, they bring in good spectators. But when there's not another event going on, it could definitely use some more fans in the stands. And I just think it's a matter of getting the word out there. And that's something that we're also trying to help do, is help the promoters actually promote the event, not just the race to the racers, but
and bringing in the local sponsors and giving them a different outlet to advertise their products gives them an opportunity to bring their customers to something fun locally, and what's cooler than watching a bunch of motorcycles with no front brakes, going into turns together. So, it's I think for new eyes on the sport, it's definitely an entertaining thing. And for people that have done it their whole entire life, it's just runs in their blood. And they'd rather do nothing than watch, some flat track racing.
And I think it's just a matter of letting the people know about it that don't know, that haven't been. It's just a matter of getting them there. And that's something, actually, I was talking to a lady, a client today, about even going into some of the schools and, bringing in, we have like two twin senior ambassadors for HDRT, and then we have a junior ambassador, and using them with their bikes and bringing them in and letting kids see the bikes and the riders, and then being able to advertise the events that way. Because what kid isn't going to go home and say, hey, I want to go to that event. I want to go see these guys.
Yeah, it's a good angle. It's very tricky, isn't it, the marketing? We have exactly the same issues over here. One of the big problems is we don't have enough people thinking like that and thinking outside of the box of how to promote an event or differently, rather than just following the sort of status quo of, putting it on social media and hoping people turn up. But yeah, definitely going to different sponsors, but even drawing in new crowds. So I think along the fitness line and the health line actually ties in really nicely. Someone that's already athletically fit and that might go, hey, I love bikes. I've never thought of trying that. They might become a racer, or they might just go, these guys are true athletes and I love bikes. I want to go and watch them race.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that thinking outside of the box is fantastic, and we need a lot more of it, because we have the same issues over here. Most of our clubs don't charge for gate fees, so racing's free, and I sort of think that devalues it a little bit. But there's a reason for that, because then there's through our controlling body, then there's extra fees for the clubs if they have it as an open event and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's lots of tidying up. I think that could help the sport grow. It seems we had Corey Texter and Eric Hartley on the pod at different stages, and it seems we have very similar issues to grow the sport from being looked at as the poor cousin. Having people make podcasts like this, talking to each other from around the world, and just keep growing it like that. Pamphlets everywhere. I think the old school drop pamphlets underrated, putting it in shop windows and that sort of thing, where the event's actually happening the week before, which is all time. No one seems to want to take the time to do those, which seem like meaningless tasks. But yeah, I think that will definitely help our sport. And like I said, I really wanted to reach out because I could see just from what Dane was telling me, and then when I looked at your page, that there was something different than the normal happening with how you're doing Roger That Racing. Actually getting that down pretty good. Have you got a website? Because you've got some cool t-shirts. You've got some cool t-shirts happening there. Have you got a website where Aussies could go and help support you and buy those?
HDRTracing.com. I don't have all of our shirts on there right now. That's something that I need to get better about doing. There's a lot of irons in the fire, and keep pressing shirts is, I guess, one of those irons. But
yeah, so you actually, then that's not a print on demand service. You actually do it yourself, or?
We've started doing it ourselves because we found for sizing and quality control and design, we kind of like coming. He'll get a wild hair, and next thing you know, there's a new design that comes out. So we've just found that we can sort of customize. Like he's got name and number on the back of his.
So we do that for anybody that
cool.
Wants to do their name, number, and with the this flavor of the week HDRT Racing logo. We offer it in a very cost effective, and it's a way for somebody to show their support on
yeah, it's all donation based. But and the beauty of it is you like a design, you want it in your size, then we make it, and we're not sitting on it. The problem is running out of room to store all of the back product.
Yeah, and we like to try to give a quality t-shirt with a quality sweatshirt, just not be sitting on. We all know those one t-shirts that you wash at one time and it's like dead to you, it's like, these are ones that you continually want to keep wearing, and throughout the years will hold up. So
awesome. There's nothing like a good t-shirt.
Yes, it's finding the good ones and then sticking with them. And we've just found that with some of the screen printers, that wasn't always easy to do. We wanted to feel a shirt before we printed it, and yeah, it's a little more work, but at the end of the day, we think it's worth it. And being able to customize, part of our initiative is, making riders feel good. You look good, you feel good. And
bringing that professionalism to the amateur side, making those 65 kids or 85 kids, feel like they're about ready to turn pro. It's big stuff. I mean, they're get to come home on the weekends and, go to school on Monday, and like, they're doing something completely, different than 99% of the kids that are going to school with them. So.
And like our ambassadors, they're twin boys, Seth and Levi Bindle. They're 16, almost 17 years old. They've done it their entire life, and we're just talking. We couldn't imagine being their dad and having twins. 2 bikes, 2 everything to have to prepare. On race day, it is a challenge over in their pits, making gearing changes, but they also have each other to play off of. But it's we created a brand for them. So they have t-shirts that, they can give to their friends, or, their friends can donate to help their race program and build a resume for them. And in return, they're doing schools for us and teaching younger kids how to ride. And they're welders, and they welded this cool balance bike that replicates a super camp, balance training model to learn form and function and elbow position and wrist position, which are all things that are going to keep riders safe on the track too. But they're two boys that they weren't like the cool kids in school, but at the track, they're on fire. They're amazing. They're the ones that people are looking up to. So I think part of what inspired us was, wanting to make everybody feel like they're the cool kid. And no ever excluded. We're an inclusive community.
Yeah, and like Seth and Levi, they've mentioned to us countless times, when they were younger, they didn't have the opportunity of those older riders that they looked up to that actually, gave more than a minute of their time, to spend with them and to kind of like mentor them and tutor them. I think that really is like set heavy with them. And with the ambassador program, it's a good reminder that not to let those kids fall through the cracks, to still go to the track and spend the quality time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's wild how it sort of all transpired and came together, and timing, and it's about putting good energy out there, and how that organically happened. And then we were doing an indoor event, because in the winter here, it's cold. You're either riding ice or you're, watching TV. So they put the balance bike together, and we did a training program at our little headquarter area. And we had another rider that, we had talked to, that's now our junior ambassador, Coy Cummins, reached out, and he's a kid that's done speedway stuff, drag racing. He's done a little bit of everything, and he just saw what was happening, and he's like, I want to help the kids too. I want to be a part of it too. So it's just cool to see everybody, just jump on board with wanting to give back. We do like sportsmanship awards throughout the year,
and getting in contact with, companies that are affiliated with giving back, throughout what they do, on an everyday thing. Mm-hmm. Trimtex Drywall Solutions has come on board. They're actually really big in Australia. And they are the manufacturer of, round corner bead that goes on the corner edging of the wall. Wallboard Tool and Trim there in Australia is a really big distributor for them. And they're all in gearheads and motorcycle guys. And, they see what we're doing on our end, and they're like, how can we get on board? How can we help you guys promote, the growth that you're looking to try to do with the flat track industry?
Maybe we need to get Joe on board.
Yeah, hopefully someone's offering to do some computer work and admin and stuff for you, so you guys can sleep. It sounds like you must be going 24/7. Holy moly.
We're actually going on our first vacation that's not motorcycle related. We leave for 8 days to the Outer Banks tomorrow, which is on the east coast of North Carolina. So we'll get a little R&R finally. That's not it. But then jump right back into
I think it was the only time we had where we could be gone 2 weekends in a row that we didn't have a race that we were committed to being at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, amazing. Yeah, I actually just had a 9-day trip myself to Tasmania, the same sort of thing. And because my youngest daughter's doing quite well playing Australian football. So, and then I travel a fair bit with racing, and I have 3 daughters. My middle daughter helps me and co-pilots and that sort of stuff a fair bit. But cool. You just run out of weekends, don't you? And it's, you can't be in 3 places at once, 2 places at once. So make the most of it, guys. Enjoy it, and try not to think about all the things that you've got going on.
We tried. We did figure out how to be 2 places at once. We have Skinny Ricky, who is an avid motorcycle flat track enthusiast. And he took up announcing when a track didn't have an announcer, and he wasn't going to let it fall through the cracks. And so he comes from the film industry, and he was like, I'll announce. And that was a while back. And now he's still announcing gigs and we figured out, he was in Michigan announcing, and we were down at Triangle Motorcycle Club, and we figured out how to do giveaways at both places. So slowly but surely we're figuring it out. And then I have my cousin
awesome.
is retired military and PD. He's a veteran, and he just retired, and he's going to take on the motocross side. So we're going to try and branch out a little bit and do giveaways there, and just sort of expand the reach. And we call it spreading the good. And our motto is wide open gratitude. We want to spread that as much as we can. So sometimes that means spreading ourselves a little thin, but at the end of the day, the response fills our tanks back up.
Yeah, and it's easy to keep up with us, HDRT Racing on Instagram, and also Facebook.
How we doing, Roger That Racing?
How we doing, Roger That Racing on Facebook. And yeah, you can see a lot of the little video clips that Kate puts together for, the couple-hour drive home, usually from the track. She's, compiling all of the images from the weekend and trying to keep everybody updated on that. And then also just, it kind of keeps everybody up to speed as far as what we have kind of with the coming, schedule. So
how do you actually select who receives gratitude from your sponsors and partners or prizes, and how do you figure that out?
So we do it the old-fashioned way. You have to, you can scan the QR code and you can enter online, but really and then I write it down on a piece of paper. But when we're set up at the track in the paddock or the pits, anybody that's racing can come over and write their name on a piece of paper. You stick it in the box, and then we draw randomly. I put them all in a hat, and we go over to the announcer, and usually Owen picks one out. Sorry, Shane's got a big check that he's
demonstration. I saw some.
What riders are presented.
I mean,
I saw some checks.
How exciting is that to see your name on a big check?
It's awesome.
Sponsors. So
yeah, it's and that was part of our thing when we started it. We're a legit 501c3 here in America, which means the government recognizes us. All of your donations are 100% tax deductible.
Yeah.
And for businesses, it was like, we don't want to just ask for your money. We want to provide something in return for that, because that's what helps us grow. And Motor Shippers is a great example of that. Like, we've honestly never met the guy in person. Saw that he commented on a light shoe post, which is like the steel shoe he manufactures. He makes those. Yep. And he was like, what's up with these riders just, thinking they can slap a sticker on their bike and ask for money and call that sponsorship? He's like, that sticker does nothing for me. He said, if there's a rider that comes to me and can really show me that they're going to add value to my company by me sponsoring them and giving them money, he said, I'm about it all day.
So usually that red light somebody, not my wife. So what does she do? She hits them like head on and says, okay, I'll match.
I called him that same minute. I clicked on his profile, found his number, called him. He was delivering motorcycles to Daytona for Bike Week. He said, circle back with me in a week. And I did. And he came on board right away. And because he, like you saw, we're always going to under promise and over deliver. That's always our mission, whether it's for the riders or for the partners that come on board. But it's like, we just want to do good and spread good. And everything that goes back to the riders when it comes to the rider entry giveaway is random draw. It is luck of the draw. And that's sort of how the Bendels became ambassadors, because they got lucky a lot last year. And that's how we got to know them.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like that. Sounds good.
And we do spectator giveaways now as well, because that's part of our draw to try and get more spectators. Is any spectator that comes, they can enter. And they don't get their money back per se, but they'll get a shirt or a hat. Or we have like other businesses. Route 30 just came on board to donate some giveaways for the spectators as well, and helmets. They're donating a couple helmets for our Headstrong helmet program. Like Fly Racing has been very generous and have donated gear sets for us to raise funds to help the program and keep the program going. So it's we always say it takes a village, but we're so thankful to have the village that we do.
Yeah, it does actually. Over the last 4 years, I changed my life from being a factory worker to to being a sort of solopreneur, I guess, and you never actually do anything on your own. And it's the same in the racing world. It might look like it's all about that rider, but there's a team behind them, whether it's 1 to 8 people or whatever it is. There's always other people helping other people to create success or whatever level you measure success at. And yeah, I mean, it just takes instigators, I think, for something like you're doing. You get the ball rolling, and then as long as people are on your wavelength, you'll get lots of support. And like you're saying, putting the positive vibes out there, they usually, what do they say, like attracts like. So it looks like you're on fire from my side of the world.
I'm glad it looks good.
Yeah, no, it does. It's a great idea. It's fantastic. It's what it should be about before money or anything else like that. It should be about working together and all, not making money obsolete, but it sort of does in a way. If you're receiving things and that, it takes that pressure off thinking about how we're going to buy the sticker kit or the next set of gear. And some people will say, oh, it's only $120, but $120 or $250. I think a graphic kit over here is about $320. It's a lot of money when you then start adding all the traveling in and everything as well. So it's a big help.
It's not that we're eliminating the debt for anybody, but what it does do is it just puts that positive spin on the whole entire weekend, and it just kind of creates that fun. Everybody likes to win something, regardless if it's a towel or, $50 gas card or whatnot.
And we found that people love their picture with the big check. 60-year-old guys that win, they're like, I never win anything. And they're just so excited. And they keep their $40 for gas money or whatever, and they're happy about it. But they were happier to just get their picture with the big check.
And oftentimes a lot of them donate it right back, or they know somebody in the pit.
And they go give it to them that had a broken part.
We had Luke Goff on the pod, and that's something he pointed out a lot. Actually, people were giving them tires, giving them fuel so you could get to the next race and all that sort of thing. And it's magic. It's awesome. So it's sort of like paying it forward, isn't it? What you're doing almost.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's exactly what it's doing. And I think it gives people the partners and the businesses that have come aboard, I think all of them want to do good. Moto Shippers wants to help people, but it's figuring out a funnel, and we essentially create the ability to help more people with a smaller amount of money, but doing it in a way that helps everybody across the board, makes them look good, and they're getting more notoriety out of it, and they're getting to feel good because they're helping people.
And yes, it is a lot of time and it is a lot of effort, but the more we do it and the longer it keeps going, it's that much easier to do. So,
and it's snowballed, and thanks to everybody who's been there, like Trim Techs and Lemons of Love have been there from the beginning, and Wagner Paving, some local people that that are just business owners that I had as clients are the first people that stepped up and said, okay, you guys are doing this, before there were big checks or before there was anything else. And obviously Raymert's, Kawasaki, and KTM, my mom and her sister, and that they are big supporters in making sure we can do for the rider raffles and, things like that allow riders to raise money for their own race program, which is something we didn't talk about, but we have one coming up now that we were just talking about and figuring out the logistics of it. But what we do is we essentially provide the prizes for the raffles and provide the riders with tickets. They sell the tickets and they get to keep half of everything they sell to put towards their race program.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you think there's, how would you say it? So from the riders, especially the ones that are probably graduating from amateur and looking at going pro, do you think there's a lack of knowledge of how to write out their program, how to raise money, and all that? So do you think, so you're doing it from one angle you're sort of doing it, helping guys do some of those things. But do you think someone could write up a program and it be almost like the structure that guys could follow that will help themselves? Because something hit me before when you said about slapping the sticker on the bike and expecting that to be a sponsor and the company to go, oh wow, you've got that sticker on the bike, here's $2,000. I actually had someone contact me and say, oh, I'm looking at going next level in my track. Can you give me some money? And I was like, I have no idea who you are. Are you an Australian title holder? No, you're not, And so I actually sent him a little message just saying, look, I appreciate your passion and what you want to do in that, but this is not the way you would approach a potential sponsor. This is the steps I would follow, and just gave him a little list like that. I don't know if it's exactly what will draw some sponsors in, but I think he's got more chance of getting one doing it that way. Do you sort of think that there is an avenue for a program to help riders that basically have no clue?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And it is part of what we're hopefully can put into action. In fact, we just talked to Colby Gomery, who plans to go pro from Michigan. And we got them. We had a gear set deal for $30 for the fly gear set. We were talking about how expensive that stuff is, and it was like, donate $30, you get a fly gear set. And he said, I'd like one of those. We'll pick it up after the fun ride day on Sunday. And I was over there talking to him, and he said, we're going to have some new leathers made. Do you mind if we put HDRT patch on it? I said, of course. I said, that'd be amazing. Like, we'd love anybody who wants to represent us, as long as you're, positive and not creating ruckus. But and then I said, if you need help with a resume, and he said, okay. And this kid is 21 years old. He's fast. He should have help. He doesn't have sponsors outside of family and Bigelow. Like, there's not, and I just don't understand why or where the disconnect is. And that's something that we will start to approach now that everything else is sort of running smoothly and under control, is figuring out the exact program, like you said, that can be written up, like a list of, here, this is the steps. These are what you need to do. These are the things that you need to say.
The cookie recipe, so to speak. So showing how to bake their own cookies. And it's different approach. I think with some riders and some of everyone's kind of got a different agenda. Do people really want to go to AFT? What's the big picture of things?
That's something here that I think AFT, you can't make a lucrative career out of it, not for what you're risking and the money that's spent doing it, which is something that needs to be addressed. And I don't have any connections. We don't have any connections in AFT. But we know at the local level, we're trying to get sponsors for bigger purses for those riders that are pro-am on the cusp, and, creating a race environment for them that is more professional. Like, we're hoping to do post-race interviews, sort of similar to Supercross or something like that, to try and get riders to speak more. Because if they don't have a platform to thank their sponsors, why does somebody want to sponsor them? We need more media coverage is what we need. We need more of you, like what you're doing, which we're so grateful for.
It's also having those outlets is a great thing, but for them so you hear about, or Corey Texter mentions it a lot on Tank Slapping Pod, about these kids, they don't know how to talk. So if they have that during the amateur, they get more comfortable in front of a camera. The first Aussie Flat Track Nationals, which actually wasn't a championship series then, I took a big camera. I bought a cheap camera, but it looked pretty impressive. It's big and bulky. It's sort of old school, but looks like you're on TV, and And I had people running away, you could see me coming and they're going, oh, shit, he's going to come and film me. So they'd run off. But now they're embracing it a bit more. That, I cornered them and actually got them to talk in front of it. And now they're actually embracing it. And I think that's setting them up for when things do get bigger. And hopefully one day we'll have TV coverage here and those guys, because like you said, they're the faster guys, and they're most likely going to get a shot in front of a camera. So it's important that they know how to talk and present themselves, and it's sort of mind blowing. I've actually offered some opportunities to just because you're fast, and I've actually learned a lot in the last few years too. I don't now just offer. I sort of thought, oh yeah, I'd like that fast guy on my product because he's fast and people will follow him because he's quick on our product and that. But if their mentality's not on the same wavelength as mine, their approach to racing and what they want from it, then it's a use. There's no partnership there. That's useless. That's they don't commit. They don't put in the effort for doing any social media and that sort of thing, and it's a wasted opportunity for both, or waste of time for both parties, basically. And I found that very interesting because I thought, they're winning all the time, so you would think that they want to go further, but some of them don't. They just enjoy racing. They're fast, happen to be fast, and that's it for them. They're not really worried about being Australian champion or going to America and showing that they can be as fast as the top Americans. Yeah, I really found that quite interesting because I thought every fast guy, that was their aim, to be the fastest wherever they race. But it's sort of, or the champion, but it's not really. It seems to be multiple mindsets, which, I guess that's what makes us human, isn't it?
Yeah. We all have different things that make us tick.
Yeah, definitely get variety in the pits.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that one. You definitely get what in the pits?
You definitely get a variety in the pits. So it's quite the little petri dish to peruse.
There's no boredom in the pits, that's for sure.
No, it's always entertaining. So like Kate mentioned, it would be nice to just kind of bring, it's just showcasing it more, like everybody, has their own banter within the pits, but we all kind of know each other a lot more than I think we even care to admit. And
well, you become family when you do it every weekend. It's your family, and for some of these people, it's really the only family they have. So it's was another reason we wanted to set up like we did, was to give those people that it is their family on the weekends. Like, we just wanted to make them feel at home and like they had a comfortable place or spot to come share, to come hang out, And it's funny, the kids, they all want to work the HDRT booth. I said, that the pay is nothing, right? But they all want to be there.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That means you're on the right track. If you've got people volunteering to help you and volunteering their time, that's a very positive sign that you're on the right direction, I think.
Yeah, it's fun. Now, I will say, we were talking about audiences. We did there was an ice race, an indoor ice race. Do you guys do ice racing there? Not at all.
No, and no indoor, and it's something I'd like to see change too. I think there probably is places we could make it happen. Not sure about the ice side of stuff. We do have snow and ski resorts and all that sort of stuff. Not sure about frozen lakes. In New Zealand, there's a couple frozen lakes that I used to ice skate on. That would be pretty good.
Well, these are little hockey arenas.
Yeah, this was actually at an indoor hockey arena.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had a good crowd. I would say a couple thousand people in a smaller stadium. World Ice Racing Championship. Christy Reamer and her husband promoted it, and it was in our backyard. We missed it the last couple years, and I reached out to her, I think, like a month before the event, and super nice, and including us. We brought the big checks. We did like 5 giveaways, and everybody there was happy and thankful. But they promoted it like it was an event, not just a race. And I think because of that, they got the turnout.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's the ice racing, I actually haven't seen a lot of footage from it. I've seen some. I listen to all the American podcasts, so Off Your Groove. Scotty Dubler talks about it a fair bit. And it's interesting. I don't know how many riders we would get have a crack at it over here. We've got some fussy riders. They don't like the real short stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, but I actually, I'm the opposite. I like the real tight, sort of cone barrel racing sort of style. I think it's pretty cool. Just black, and not change gear. But yeah, it would be interesting to see if it would take off here. I think indoor. I think a lot of guys actually would take up indoor because you can do it in our rainy time and it's more seat time. So I think that would go okay. But you're not sure about the ice. Do you have? I'm pretty sure you have a non-stud and a stud class. Is that right?
What I got, yeah. So they have like a 200 stud class, which is kind of interesting. So you're allowed
run more studs or less studs.
You're allowed to run 200 studs to any kind of configuration that you see fit. So it's kind of interesting. The combinations that some guys, gravitate towards.
That's a whole new business for you, studding tires.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It looks like you need to have good patience to do that. I'm not sure if my patience is very good.
Yeah.
and do they stud the American pattern tire? Is that the one they put the studs through, or do they use a different tire?
No, they'll use
like the old tire.
Yeah, the old tire. Yeah, basically. So
yeah.
No reason to choose for a nice, $300 tire.
Is that what your tires are worth over there? Are they like? And in the amateur, what's the most popular brand?
It really depends. I mean, a lot of guys like Maxxis tires with the flat track, but AFT is held to Dunlops. So you're
the Shinkos are kind of big.
Shinkos are the best bang for the buck, for sure, as far as the amateur side of things go, because it gives you a nice kind of face to start off of. So if you're into grooving your tires, it kind of allows you to put any kind of pattern that you want into it. Also Hoosiers,
I was just gonna say Hoosier
are out here as well, which is similar to like a Shinko style tire.
And I feel like Hoosiers coming on stronger, like they're becoming more and more popular. Like Brad Baker, I think, distributes them, and there's a handful of people. Yeah,
we have a couple guys that use them over here, and there's a couple guys in New Zealand that use them as well. So yeah, they are quite popular. Shinko are big in New Zealand. Sorry,
do you offer your with Claver? Is it the wheels and tires? Do you have both? Is it like a full set?
So I can do packages for people if they ask, and I have done quite often. Usually the guys that have decided they're going to go racing a week before a meeting and realise they haven't got anything, so we'll get them some tyres and I'll fit them for them and bring them to the racetrack. So I've done that quite a few times. I actually designed a trial pattern tyre that can be used front and rear and flips, so it's got universal on it. I had a really hard decision actually when I started, because no one was convinced that 19s will work in Australia, because we had a different setup. It made it very, very challenging to bring 19s in. Like New Zealand, that's just started on 19s. They had nothing to compete against, no other setup to compete against. So they just started on 19s. UK, for some reason, even though they're very speedway based, they seem to be just over the full straight into 19s without any resistance. But over here, we've had a very, that is the history of our sport, is 21-18. There was a period of 19s, but it faded out back in the 80s, early 90s, and then it's been 21-18 ever since. So I had to break a mentality that was the best way to go. And so I did that by creating basically the tyre that everyone uses on the rear, but making it be able to use as a front tyre as well. But I couldn't, the factory I sourced couldn't supply the quality of the Michelin rubber anyway, which actually ended up being more favourable because they're too soft to be a front tyre. So ours are somewhere in between. It's definitely, in my opinion, and a few racers' opinions, that it's the best performing 19-inch block pattern, beaten V rubber, which was multiple times at multiple meetings with different riders. So in the 19-inch block pattern category, I reckon we're number one, but you can also use it as a front tyre. So I designed that to sort of slowly persuade people that 19-inch diameter of wheel is actually very versatile, and and then just it happened that Dave Maddock made the AFTN at the same time. And then everyone started using the American tire, which sort of has undone me a little bit, but they won't allow them to race on our pattern in that series. But at club days and everything, you can use them. So yeah, so that's our own tire. It's called the Kelpie Block. That was what our business was originally called, and now we've changed the Claver after an intellectual property battle with someone else with the same name that does road sort of orientated parts. But anyway, I decided to save the money, not give it to the lawyers, and change the name, and that's now why we're Claver. So a long story there. Understand? Thanks for your patience. But I can get the American tires if people want them, and do packages. Yeah, 100%, no worries. But
why? Have your own tire that's better.
Well, I don't know if it's better than the American pattern. It would be time-wise. Obviously, times, it's hard to judge by times because you've got to be doing it back to back at the same track. And is the track the same conditions? When you're doing each test, it gets complicated. But our tire would be a very similar time to the American tire, 100%. I actually went to New Zealand and borrowed a bike that I sent some tires to a guy over there, Wayne Drake, his name is, and he actually raced on my tires, and I raced on some Shinkos, which were fairly worn. But on a bike I didn't know, and he was getting around me a couple times, and it was tit for tat, and we had awesome battles, and it was actually really cool to be racing someone against someone that was racing on my product and not me racing on it. And yeah, it was a really cool experience, and they definitely held their own. Yeah, so it's a shame that our series won't let them run in that pattern. They won't let that pattern run in our series over here. But like I said, any normal club day, if someone chooses to, they can run them. But unfortunately, that 2118 has got a really strong hold, and a rare Michelin over here is about 350 Australian dollars now. So yeah, that's gone up. Our tire's $170. Yeah, so it's a big difference. Shinko's about the same in the American pattern, and then everything else apart from the DT4 is in between. DT4 is about the same as a Michelin, I think. So
same.
So tires is an interesting subject, actually, and going back to Luke Goff when we had him on, and he was talking about basically being broke in America, and all he had was I think it might have been a Maxxis front actually, and he put it on the rear and he kicked everyone's ass on that, and then the next year he went back, everyone's using a front on the rear. So that's. It's all about the rider, isn't it? It's what they can pull off on the day, I think.
Yep,
definitely.
Yep, and sometimes how desperation is equals happy accidents sometimes, and then it's
yeah. Like you stated earlier, if you're comfortable, so whether it's because you look good in your HTR t-shirt or whatever it is, if you're comfortable and you're feeling happy, I think that's a big part of the recipe of winning. I really am quite confident of that. If you go into the day feeling happy and confident, then there's a good chance you're going to win your races. Yeah.
Yep, I think it's true at the track and off the track in life. It's like you got that positive attitude. Positive things are going to happen. Negative things might happen, but you're not going to focus on them. You're going to focus on the positives, which is what we try to.
They tend to bounce off. Positivity is like a shield, isn't it? That negativity sort of bounces off you when you're well practiced in positivity.
Yes.
Which I've got a feeling Kate has changed. She hasn't stopped smiling since I said good day an hour and 20 ago.
He gets tired of it sometimes.
Oh,
yeah, that expression told the whole story, actually.
We're very fortunate to be able to do what we do. We're both self-employed. and as I'm sure you relate, once you're self-employed, it's hard to go back to anything else. But it affords us the freedom to do this and to give back to the community in a way that we didn't know was possible or that was needed, but it's clearly meant to be. We got our approval for our nonprofit within like 3 months from filing, when it's usually very challenging and can be drawn out.
And we didn't know what the extent of that really even meant at the time. We just knew that, okay, we're moving forward.
Yeah, we want to help people. We didn't have all of the ducks in a row, but it's like, if you wait to get all of your ducks in a row, you're going to miss out on life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they say there's no time like right now. So if you've got an idea, no one goes into business or a non-for-profit or, creating a series with all the answers. It's impossible. Yep. You usually go in with a lot of fear, going, how are we going to pull this off? And how's this going to happen?
And I do. I like that saying. It's like, we're all looking for that that magic, and usually that magic is the work that we're avoiding. Is where we're going to find that magic. So it's a good reminder to stay busy and just keep moving forward. As long as you're moving forward, you're going to find positivity and a little bit of light in that tunnel. So.
And I think it's important for people to realize that not every sponsor, every partner or business that we have approached says yes. Like, you only see the ones that say yes, but there's a lot of no's that happen along the way. And that's why I think it's important for writers to understand when they're going after sponsors is, just because one business says no doesn't mean you stop. That doesn't mean you don't have value. It just means that it didn't fit with them.
Yeah.
And not every business owner is going to be as nice as you were and lay out like, well, if you're going to approach other people, this is a more professional way to go about it. Some businesses, they just don't have the time, or they'll just say no.
Yeah, or they don't say anything and you never hear from them, which is
right.
And that's actually why I did that response. To be honest, wasn't because I had lots of time. It seems that I never have any time, but I just had to make it happen. I just thought, this kid's never going to get a sponsor if they keep approaching it like that. So I just made the time, which was about probably, I'm pretty slow on a computer, probably about 10 minutes for a response, and then and that was it. So, but look, it's definitely not easy, but like you see, Shane, it keeps you busy and you keep moving forward, and I think it does take certain people. You obviously like a challenge, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. It sounds like you've had many challenges, and there'll be many more to come to keep it growing and moving forward. But I'm glad that you came on and you said yes, and you didn't think I was a scammer trying to get a new fly racing suit for nothing. But when I messaged you, I thought, they might not even look at this. They're going to be going, who the hell is this guy?
They warn us about islands like you guys.
Well, we're full of convicts.
Yeah,
that's what we call it. It's Alcatraz. You guys got your own little Alcatraz over there.
So, would you like to give that? Would you like to give that drink another plug? You should hold it up to the camera and give it a real good plug.
Ohio, based out of California, is the social tonic,
non-alcoholic social tonic. Functional adaptogens in it: L-theanine, ashwagandha, lion's mane, cordyceps, ginger, and turmeric. And they spent a lot of time figuring out the combo that worked together.
And they're delicious.
And they say if you have 3, it's called the float.
Yeah, you get like a floating feeling.
Yeah, it takes the edge off with no negative side effects.
Yeah, you can still operate a flat track bike.
Awesome. Just one moment, guys. I'm just going to pause quickly.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry, just a quick break there. I just, as I was explaining to these guys, that had some guests asking if they could feed the goat, and I heard the banging and I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Hey,
feed the goat.
I wanted to know, do you guys have racing goals that you're chasing yourselves?
Ooh.
Yeah, not at this point. We're just looking to go out, spin as many laps as we can when we see fit. And it's I'm only in my 3rd year of flat track racing. So
okay. Yeah.
It's been it's been a new discipline for me, growing up motocross, since I was, in diapers, and living out in California, and jet skiing being a big thing that we would do on our weekends, and going to the Colorado River, and kind of living that lifestyle is a little bit different than middle America.
And did you race the jet skis, or you're just having fun on them?
No, we did. My dad was the technical director for the IGSBA, which back in the heyday in the 80s and 90s, when Budweiser was the key sponsor, and you're finding them on national televised events. We were at those races every single weekend running around. So I got to grow up with a lot of the professional jet ski racers back in the day.
Yeah, I remember the stand-up jet skis being really huge and the racing happening, and then all of a sudden people were sitting down on these huge we call them wave skis.
It's quite a comeback, just like everything else. How you see two-stroke, bikes from the '90s, kind of making their resurgence and selling for top dollar. You're starting to see that for the last few years with the old vintage stand-up jet skis. They're making their way back around.
And what about you? Do you prefer Kate or Caitlin? Am I calling you by the right name?
You're good. I'll answer to Kate, Caitlin, Mom, Mommy,
Kitty Kate,
Katie,
Kitty Kate, whatever.
and so, what's your racing objectives, Kate?
Yeah, HDRT,
Mrs. HDRT,
HDRT lady.
No racing goals. I hadn't raced in a while, but at our fun ride day, we had a pit bike mom race for all the ladies of the track that usually don't get to spend laps. And I had fun. I actually got to race against Casey, whom I raced motocross against probably 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And she has boys that race now, and her daughter takes pictures of the track, PBR photography, and they're a partner of ours. And so we got to go spin some laps. There were eight?
Yeah.
8 of us.
It got a little hairy there at the there was a red flag restart.
The bar banging, was it?
Yeah, the start, there was some clutches popped at the start and wheelies, and
finding traction.
But it was fun. And so that's something that is hopefully brings more people in, and we can do it more often, maybe not at every race because the schedules don't always allow, but exhibitions like that. And so I don't have personal race goals, but growing the race community is, I guess, my personal goal. And part of that, there's a guy up in Michigan that has started Strider races. He's got how many did he have with him? 12,
13
little Strider balance bikes that he's going to travel.
I just posted the one you shared onto Australian short track down under. I just shared that because that's so cool.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
no, that's cool.
That's how you get the younger riders involved. They want to.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how Owen started.
Yeah.
He
share the same dirt that they're watching the big bikes,
and they want to do that. We quite often see the young kids scooting around on their freestanding bikes like that, and that around the pits and around the camping area, and that's a great way to get them involved. That's why I posted it. If a club or two picks that up here, that'd be awesome. Just brings them in, gives them a moment to shine, and there's always a bit of downtime somewhere, whether it's track prep or you could do that in the pit area here easily. Put a couple cones out and give away. I reckon Claver could give away some prizes for that.
I think so. Well, and I think it's just about finding all of the track crew. That's the only time that they're getting their break. So it's finding people in the pits, and that's what we're doing, is organizing it for them. We're going to use our ambassadors and any other older riders that want to volunteer to help and make those little kids feel like there's something special. I know Jeff Blakely he's got a couple of pros lined up to be flaggers at some of the events for it. So awesome. the kids really get to feel like they're a part of it, and it's something special for them, not just an exhibition race.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's a big part of the attraction of the sport is when you're in your gear and everything, you do feel like you're part of something. And that's the attraction to keep coming back and get those sensations. I don't know. There's something about putting your levers on or your race gear on. I always get not nervous butterflies, but I don't know. There's a sensation I get with doing that that just makes me feel like I'm a part of something that's quite special. Makes me feel special. And yeah, if we can start that as young as possible, then we're going to have riders forever.
Yes.
That keeps coming back. Yeah.
And the little kids are the ones that bring the grandparents and the aunts and uncles. And I think that's what the promoters like have to realize and understand here, because there's some that are like, well, we're just going to eliminate the 50cc class. And it's like, well, then how are you going to have 65 riders?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you got to look at it like it's part of an exhibition. Okay, it is like watching paint dry sometimes when the 50s are going around these 5/8 miles.
But then there are also 50s that you're like, it's the best race of the night.
Oh yeah, there's some bar to bar, like out, drag out, like yeah.
Our son had a race. I mean, it was an inch at the finish line. Him and John Moore, the race last year, and it was like that's cool. And everybody in the stands is watching.
Yeah.
Not that there were a lot in the stands, but I think it'll get there. It's just a matter of continuing to trust the process and putting the good energy into it. People show up when they feel like they're missing out on something. It's like when people are standing in a line and they don't know what they're standing in line for, but there was a line, there must be something good.
Yeah.
Like that's what we just have to create the line, and it's knowing that it's not going to happen overnight, but things like this, like you taking the time to do this, even when you don't have the time, and just, we put HDRT on pretty much every piece of clothing we have. And because it's a conversation starter, and you never know when that's going to get somebody to show up at the track.
Yeah, well, I wear my own merch, and my girls, they really criticize me about it. And I said, well, if I don't talk about it, who's going to talk about it? I've got to promote. I've got to promote myself, and some people aren't comfortable with that, but you can call me shameless or whatever you like. I want it to be successful, and I can't say it enough, and our listeners are probably sick of it, but the reason the business exists is for the sport, and it is just to keep me in the sport, because I'm not quite as fortunate as you guys, as we're. My wife's supportive, don't get me wrong. I'm not bagging her out or anything like that. She loves me, and she loves the podcast, mainly because she knows I can't. Well, I probably could fall off a chair and hurt myself, but she knows that I'm safe. I'm safe in the office, But I just have to keep pushing it, and I'm here for the sport, and that's why I do it, because I love it. And I could be out chopping wood now, so everyone's warm in winter and that sort of thing. But I'd rather take the time to talk to like-minded people and show our audiences. So I don't know if you know, but we have 18 countries that tune in. So, it's this sport's amazing. It's everywhere, and it is global. And in some of those countries, it might only be 3 guys going in circles racing each other in someone's backyard, but they've got a passion for it as well, and they're sort of hooked. And I just want to keep that growing. And we've got the FIM World Flat Track now, and that's slowly growing. Feels to me a little bit disconnected from everything else, but it's slowly. Now you've got your Sammy Halberts in there and Jared Brook from Australia. And I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger, and all the work we're doing, yourselves and myself and other people, it's just going to help build it and make it into the lifestyle we love living. And I mean, like you're saying, being having your own businesses, and it gives you that flexibility to do the things that you want to do, rather than just 9 to 5 and being told you got to be here to make some money. And I love it. That's what the business is about, is just to keep building it. And it's funny, we've had a couple of times where I've gone a bit quiet because of other stuff going on, and just finding it way too hard to make the time. I'd have to be coming in at 1 o'clock in the morning to do it or something, and there's not many people that will get up at that time to do a podcast with me. So but I actually thought someone else might jump on board and do a flat track pod here in Australia, but no one's done it. So I guess it's up to us to keep spreading the word.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. I have a co-host, Tom Northey, who actually came and spent some time in America and did some riding at the amateur level. And he couldn't make it today because the time, and he's working and stuff. But I said to him the other night, if I die, I better give you the passwords and that for Spotify and everything, because if I die, you've got to keep it going.
You're my successor for the podcast. You better be on it.
Yeah, he was into it. Yeah, I was surprised he was into it. We had a podcast the other night, and I had really bad reception, and I had to drop an into it when I could actually talk because it unfroze. I said, "Tom, it's all yours. You're leading this one." And he went very pale for a little bit. And then he bounced into action. He pulled it off. So I think, he'll do a good job in the future if anything happens to me, which, touch wood, it doesn't. But
yeah, I can't have it. But more than one person, I think that's what we're finding even with announcing at events is like maybe one announcer doesn't need the burden of the whole day. Maybe you switch it off and go back and forth. Like Skinny Ricky he announced and he wanted to race in the Mad Dog class at the iconic Lima half mile a couple weekends ago. And he asked me to fill in while he was racing. And I said, yeah, of course. But what that did was that gave me the opportunity to talk to riders in the pits and be able to share more of their story on the microphone. And to the crowd, what little crowd was there, but
it's a different perspective than the routine of one person kind of running the show. So
and you say the little crowd that there is, that the size doesn't matter. What I think announcing or commentating, what we call it over here, does is it engages everyone and sort of brings them into the let's call it an event rather than a meeting. It makes it more of an event. And there'll be people in the pits that never talk to each other. And when you talk about that information, like maybe John Miller was actually back in the 40s state champion or something like that, and he's back out on the track today, all of a sudden you've made a connection between John Miller and that person that didn't know them. And all of a sudden they go up to John and say, hey, John, I'm coming up with names just off the top of my head, obviously, Russell. I'm really fascinated to see you come back. What a great effort after all that time, and next minute a new friendship's made. And I think that doesn't really matter about. Obviously, you need more than two, but it doesn't really matter about the amount of people there. I think commentating is something I've been pushing a lot at our events. Our meetings in Australia, because for the people that aren't racing, but also for the people that are racing, it just connects everything together. And no one likes dead air. I like silence, maybe for 10 minutes a day. And if I'm doing other tasks, I like having things on in the background. I don't know. There's something about commentating that just makes a meeting an event. And I think it's very important, and it's important to the growth of our sport. So I think, is it Slim Ricky announcing and yourself getting up there and doing announcing? I think it's awesome. Did I get his name wrong?
No, but I kind of like Slim Ricky.
I think it's gonna be his new nickname, Skinny Ricky. Yeah, if you find him on Facebook, you'll see he's an enthusiast. He's the one that says flat track saved his life, and he's about it. He was at the Fun Ride Day getting new little 50 riders that were on the moto track. He was like, no, you guys got to come try out the half mile. And they did. And they were just smiling ear to ear.
We were standing up in the announcer booth at Lima, and you can hear him in his helmet. He was having a party in there. It was like
on a little Mad Dogger on a half mile.
Yeah, just getting it.
It's awesome. And can I ask, because it's a thing in Australia that we usually nickname someone the opposite of what they are. Is he actually skinny, or is he a big guy? Or
he's fit. He's trim. Yeah. He's trim.
He just had his 50th birthday yesterday.
Yeah, just hit the big 5-0.
Yeah, right. is that why he got that skinny, or is there something else? He just drank skinny
No,
milk, or
I'm not sure where his nickname came from.
Yeah, we don't. The hood.
I don't ask questions I don't want to know the answer to.
yeah, fair enough. Cool.
But he's quite entertaining if you follow him on the old social media.
Yeah.
Um,
And he's
we haven't spoken much about Oliver. What's the go with his racing? Does he want to be the next American AFT champion, or he's just racing because you guys are there, or how's that go?
Oh, Owen.
Oh,
well, yeah. Owen, he goes in phases. He was a 50cc junior champion at Triangle Motorcycle Club last year. This year, we'll see. It depends. So he calls my dad Bobby, and he likes to do what Bobby does. Well, Bobby isn't allowed to race anymore because he's broke too many bones, and my mom says, no, please, no more. I'm tired of being the nurse. So Owen says, he's like, well, Bobby's not racing. I don't really care if I race. He's okay to go play ride. But you never know when the season starts, he might get the bug. He was like the kid getting lapped on the PW, a year ago? And middle of the season, he just decided to turn it on his KTM Junior and started going fast.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
we don't know what.
They're the ones you've got to watch out for, those slow starters. And then all of a sudden, they're half a bike length to a bike length ahead. And I apologise, I got his name wrong. I called him Oliver. Owen it is.
That's okay. No, he's Owen is, you never know. As mom, I say by the time he's on a 65, I hope that he wants to go the announcing route. I hope he wants to be an announcer instead of a racer.
And with the Triangle Motorcycle Club, do all your separate clubs over there, do they have like their own club championships?
Yes, Triangle's the only one that I think like does a banquet and officially celebrates. So they have a race every month. And then this year we have what we call the Ohio State Championship Series. It's the second year for it. And this year, different from last year, it's a club only series. So there's no individual promoters in it. It has to be a not-for-profit club. So not a single person stands to make money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a series of 5 or 6 different venues.
So we have Triangle, Treaty City, Sunset Ramblers, Western Reserve, and Cincy Speedway.
And it's a variation. There's some TT tracks involved this year, and then there's also short track clay and half mile pea gravel.
Yeah. But TTs,
Yeah, we do now. A lot of clubs are starting to support that, thanks to the AFTN, the Aussie Flat Track Nationals, and just the interest. Everyone likes, even though most of us aren't big jumpers, everyone likes to do a bit of a jump and feel like we're a motocrosser for about half a second. But
I thought that was the part about flat tracking, was not having to get off the ground.
yeah, you'd think so. But most of our jumps are, I would call them a small junior tabletop or a ski jump. So they're pretty straightforward. I don't think I've seen a stack on a jump yet, anyone crash or anything. So that's positive.
It's enough to get weightless typically by us.
Yeah, and just add another technical angle to the race, so
it's
the Aussie, so no Peoria, no. The Aussie Flat Track Nationals, the first is 2-day events, so there's 6 rounds at the moment, and so 3 venues. The first day is the oval track, and the second day is the TT track, and we have one. The first track, Appin, tends to Blue Groove. The second track, Brisbane, stays pretty loose. And the third track is Gunnedah, which is an oil track. It's a bit more of a horsepower track. It's a little bit bigger. It really creates variety, which is, fantastic. But our club, so I'm in the Harley Club of Victoria, and they have a club championship where it's non-for-profit, it's just the club, and it's trophies and bragging rights basically at the end of it if you come out on top. And I was just curious if you did similar thing within your clubs, because we see, watching from over here, and probably the same for you guys watching over here. It's a bit cloudy. There's a lot more racing in America going on. And you're sort of going, or that's why I've been asking these questions. How's that all work? Within the amateur ranks, we get a lot of pro stuff over here, so yeah, it's hard to know how your actual clubs operate and if they run championships or just single meetings. Or we do have a few clubs that do like a tri series over here, joined together, and that helps bulk entries up a bit, and they race at each other's track. But yeah, just from year to year it changes. Sounds similar to you guys, I think.
Yep.
And with the Ohio State Championship Series, Kate's done a really good job in working with some of the others to bring in some, sizable prizes and rewards, for the riders that attend the majority of the races. So.
And Salina Cycle Center is a local shop that came on board they said they want to be title sponsor this year. They saw what it was last year and they were like, we want to be a part of it in a big way. So it's people like that they're passionate about the sport. And it's like we talked about earlier, just giving them the avenue to properly give back in a good way and get them good publicity. And just good minds, alike minds coming together for the greater good of the sport.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And what's a typical purse at an amateur event like? Is it the 450s? Would they get prize money, or is it across every class? Or
usually it's just pro-am. So they open it up to the amateurs. Now there's some outlaw races that have bigger purses. Some of the fair races that happen during the fair board will put up a purse that then gets distributed to the riders, and that's usually across all the classes. But sometimes the pro-am purse is just an 80-20, like 80% payback of what the entry fees were. Sometimes the purse will be $5,000. Triangle is trying to do a progressive purse this year, so they're going to carry over their like 20 or 15% from each race and try and get a couple of sponsors. I think they have somebody committed for like $1,500 already, but they want to get like to a $5,000 purse for the last race of the year for the pro-am class.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for our Aussie races, if they can come over and do well at the amateur events, they could actually go home with a pretty good payday, because obviously the exchange rate's your dollars are worth a bit more than now, so obviously your cost to get over in there might wipe all that out. But that's sort of what I was asking. It's interesting because most of the guys would want to be in the pro ranks, but for some people you still gotta have that journey and find whether you're actually gonna. I'm not actually sure how easy it is to get your pro card, being a foreigner. I know Tom Jane had to do a few sort of tests and prove that he could be trusted on a mile and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I sort of think that could offer another opportunity for Aussie riders to come over and challenge your guys on your home turf through the amateur clubs and still, if not break even, make a little bit of money.
We see Max well enough at our tracks, okay?
I do you? So Max comes over a bit.
Oh yeah.
Max was at Lima. Yeah, he was there.
He hangs out in Ohio quite a bit.
And the Drains spent time with in Greenville, actually not too far from here, with the Martins when they first were here. Yeah, they can. Don't tell the Bendel brothers that we said to send the Aussies over.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was leading to, is segueing into is what is the feeling about Aussie races within America and the amateur ranks? Do you guys love them? You hate them, or stay in our own country?
I think it's great.
From our perspective, we love it. In fact, like watching Rory ride the short track and the half mile, just his style, because of the difference,
Maybe the 21-inch rim.
Yeah, whatever it was
the combo.
it was super fun to watch him ride. And I just think like the tenacity that you guys have when they come over, like Dane and what he's doing for Georgie Boy, like that's incredible to us. And so anybody that wants to come, we'll try our best to facilitate anything that we can to make it happen. Shoot, maybe we need to open up an Airbnb by trying.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about like having 3 or 4 bikes here available, because that's obviously, not everyone can afford to, and it's sort of what I've got against Aussies going over to America is the affordability. Your dollar being stronger than ours doesn't help. Some people are capable of buying a bike for their child or for themselves, but that's not open to everyone. So I was sort of thinking of like because I do have the Airbnb, having some bikes here and offering, like a package where you can have accommodation, bike, meals, and we take you racing, something like that. I think there's a lot of avenues for little micro business ideas for people if they, want to take that on board. Go if they want to steal that idea, please do, and because it just offers more opportunities. For people to travel within each other's countries,
Yeah.
And we're kind of spoiled, why we're involved the way that we are is like we talk about this Triangle Motorcycle Club, and it's been a motorcycle club that's been around for over 100 years. It's kind of like your own private track. Like you once you're a member, you can go there at any point during the week, as long as it's
not race week,
because they're doing race prep.
Great.
But you can go up there and pull your camper up and camp for 2-3 days and have virtually your own practice track. I mean, oftentimes you see a lot of pros that go up there and do testing, and will rent the track for a nominal fee and, have an actual facility of a half mile, which really you cannot do anywhere. You're basically having to sign up for that weekend race to get on a half mile track.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good perk.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good place to be able, like we did, to introduce new people to the sport without them feeling overwhelmed or like they have to be a part of a race to go ride a half mile.
Yeah.
So
a half mile is 800 meters, is that correct? Have I got my maths right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that's about the size. So we call long track over here. That's about the size of our biggest tracks. We don't actually have miles, to my knowledge, that we're racing on. I'm not actually sure if there's a mile. There probably is a mile horse track, but to get on them, they'll be our premium horse racing tracks. To get on them is probably next to impossible. I mean, it's not impossible till you try and get knocked back a million times. But
if you got enough money, nothing's impossible.
Well, actually, it's a good point. Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah,
but we're trackers. We don't come from the super wealthy, we come from the humble. We like to have fun. It's about community.
You were just talking about flipping a tire 4 ways.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's actually funny. Corey Texter says you got to know your demographic, and I think he's quite right about the blue collar statement. I think, and it's so weird how it seems to be in every country. Like it's your working class heroes, let's say, that seem to be into flat track, and it attracts some characters, that's for sure, especially over here. Our guys can get blinding drunk and then go and race the next day. I'm not sure. I can't do that, but that seems to be a common thing everywhere. Everyone likes to drink. They go work hard during the week, play hard on the weekend. So I'm guessing it's can be similar over there.
You get your
there's always
your wild times in the pits for sure. So,
but that's why we introduced Hayo.
Yeah,
we were trying to bring a good vibe without the hangover.
I'll tell you what, racing without a hangover, there's something to be said about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I haven't had one for 7 years, and I don't miss a hangover.
No, exactly.
Actually, that Ohio reminds me, in New Zealand, when I was I reckon I would have been about 17, and I was living in Wellington, and I wasn't racing motorbikes or anything, but the government were illicit drugs or hallucinogenics were quite a big problem at the time, like LSD and mushrooms and that sort of thing. So they opened all these, I think they were like juice bars, like vitamin bars, and you basically get an overstimulated vitamin hit. I don't think they do them anymore, but that's what that drink sort of reminded me of when you said you have 3 and you're floating.
Yeah.
Turns out everybody was getting diabetes. So, yeah, too much sugar.
Yeah, pulled that one out. You reckon that's what killed it?
Yeah. No, the community around it is just, you don't, like you said, you don't find it in any other sport, I don't think. And that's why we'll continue to push. And it's kind of why we're doing our outreach to motocross too, is because not that we're trying to poach the riders, but they don't know. A lot of people just don't know about flat track. And I was afraid. I grew up racing moto, and I remember the first year we went to Triangle, I only rode their motocross track. I didn't go on the half mile.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it, that it's the oldest form of motorcycle racing. It's got as those documentaries show, it was the first form of motorcycle racing, really going in the circle and seeing how fast you can go. That it's so unknown, like it's sort of got pushed to the back somehow. And you do learn a lot of skills from it if you want to go into road racing or any other motorcycle discipline. Like the throttle control you learn from flat track, second to none. And yeah, it does blow my mind how little people know about it. Most people, we say, well, if I say I race flat track, they say, what is that? Is it speedway? No, it's not speedway, but that's probably our closest cousin,
Yeah.
And you end up talking to them for 15 minutes explaining what it actually is. That seems to be global as well. It's bizarre.
Well, I grew up Southern California, and my Saturdays were spent at Costa Mesa Speedway, which was, 8th mile, complete oval track where, they never weren't turned 90 degrees, as they're, roosting around the track. So, and then to see it, at the half mile level, we had Del Mar, I think, but that wouldn't run every year. So it definitely wasn't as prevalent as it is here in the Midwest.
So I'm guessing Lima has a very slack radius. It's like very long corners, are they? Is that why it's so popular?
Yeah, it's a really wide track. It's got a nice bank to it. It's typically pretty deep.
Yeah.
It definitely is a thick groom track.
Yeah.
And do you guys race the outlaw events as well? And what exactly is an outlaw event? Does that mean it's just not sanctioned by AMA? Is there insurance involved in that sort of stuff to protect the rider, or you don't have that in America? Or can you cover some of that?
Most of the events that we do actually are outlaw events, and they usually carry they carry their own insurance, so they're still insured, and you still have to sign the release of liability waiver. But the AMA doesn't seem to be as prevalent in flat track as it used to be, and I think it's because the promoters weren't seeing the value in it. Like, they were paying the sanctioning fees, and there are still some that do, and I'm not super well educated on it. But I just, from what I know from the people that I've talked to, it was like they were paying the sanctioning fees and they weren't getting anything out of it except maybe a lesser insurance rate, but they found other ways to insure their races. Getting proper paramedics here is a long-standing sort of issue. I don't know if that's something you have an issue with, but we need paramedics that are trained in trauma, because usually if there's a crash, it's trauma related, and we've come across some instances where the paramedics or EMTs
are very hands-off.
Yeah, they're not super familiar with that. So
I'm actually not 100% sure. We do have ambulances and paramedics come to the meetings. I'm not sure what their criteria is as far as to our Australian motorcycling, our governing body. I'm not sure what level they have to be. I know it's very expensive and it's a big expense to a race meeting. But I'm not 100% sure if they have to be trained in trauma. Being high speed, I would say so. And look, usually an outside ambulance will be called in pretty quick if it's that. that bad. We have had helicopters and deaths and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So usually they're the first responders, and then they'll call if that is out of their hands, sort of thing, and just make sure the rider's comfortable and breathing until the ambos can get there. But that is a hard side of the sport to swallow when you see it firsthand, and sometimes it does make you wonder, why am I doing this? If that could be me, but look, we must all just be adrenaline junkies or something. I don't really know the answer.
The thrill of it, it's like no other. There was a moto guy that dad let ride his bike at Triangle, that's a club member there and does a lot of work, and he was like, no, I'm not going to go out there, no, and he finally did. And he went out and did probably 6 laps on the half mile, and he came back and he said, I've never had an adrenaline rush like that in my whole life. And he's raced cars, he's done a little bit of everything, and he's like, nothing felt like that did.
Yeah, and it's also why so our long tracks, which are the half mile over here, are so popular. But there is something about a long track. The corners, when you're going through them, you just feel like you've got all the time in the world. I like the analogy, you could knit a pair of socks, because that's what it feels like. It feels like you could just take your hand off and start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Compared to our normal tracks, and it's why they're so, like, one of our biggest events is called the Bathurst Long Track Masters, and they get 300 entries just because of that sensation it gives the riders, and I actually just did a pod. So the pod before you guys is with a rider I used to support last year called Kelsey Jensen, and she's one of our top female, fast becoming one of our top female riders. She's racing in Australian championships, track championships next weekend, with the hope to clinch a title, her first title. And she's only been racing 4 years now, and that's her favourite event. And when I asked her to explain why, it's just the speed and the sensation you get from that speed. But it's, to me, fast on those big tracks is almost feels slow. It's a weird thing, but the rush just can't be matched on any other style of track. It's very hard to explain until, like the gentleman did, you do it yourself and get that sensation. Yeah. So what's your or both of you, I can ask both of you, you race too, Caitlin, what's your favourite track? Is it the TT, a mile, half mile, the indoor ice racing? Do you do ice racing?
No, we didn't do the ice racing. We just watched and did giveaways for that. I don't know. I kind of like the short track.
I definitely, I took a liking to short track riding last year, more than the previous years, but a nice groomed cushion half mile there's nothing like it.
Yeah, and so I do hear a bit on socials and that you guys, well, actually, and it's probably more relative to the national series, they don't have enough cushion tracks on their schedule. Would you agree with that? Do you think it'd make better watching?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And I don't know what the logistics at AFT look like and why it is like that, but I definitely think you'll see better racing on a half mile.
It's pretty cool when you see 3-4 wide going in on a cushion track, at full speed.
Yeah.
You're not seeing a lot of that one line racing like you do with some of the clay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have a lot of clay here. We're not allowed to run car tracks as such, which is sort of a shame. It's probably a good thing, but it's mainly because most of them have concrete walls, and there's a rule over here now that you need to have airbags. So
yes.
We don't have a pro level, but at all levels. So which are very expensive. I believe you can rent one now, which I think is still quite a bit of a cost to the club that rents it or promoter. But hopefully that will change, because I for us, apart from those oil tracks, which is off the top of my head, 3 or 4 in New South Wales, the rest are all loose tracks. So I think it would help prepare our riders for coming over your way as well. At the AM Nationals, I know, how many tracks do they have? Is it 5 configurations? You have a mile, half mile, short track, TT, and indoor. Is that right?
I don't know if they do. I don't think they still do the indoor. I think they save the indoor if the short track gets rained out.
Ah,
I need
okay.
to.
Yeah, rain day. Yeah. And so
So
are you guys going to be going to that as well, to the Am Nationals?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, we do believe so this year.
We have
Yeah.
the Bill Rose are Seth and Levi are going for the Horizon Award, and with Dane and Georgie Boy going, we'll definitely want to support them. So we'll tote along. I don't know. We'll see where Owen's at if he wants to race it. Usually there's not a big turnout in the 50 class there.
Yeah.
But
why is that,
know.
do you think? Because isn't that the sort of highest meeting as far as recognition? Oh, is it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because and how they spread it out. I was just talking to Cody Mishy's mom about this because of how they spread it out over like 7 or 8 days, and you don't race every day, it's every other day. And a lot of parents have a hard time taking off work that entire time, and it's expensive, it's costly if whether you're staying in a motorhome or you're renting an Airbnb there. And the entry fees aren't cheap. And part of what we'll do when we're there is try to provide more media coverage, because that's what I feel like is definitely lacking. Like, and that's what I asked her as a mom of a rider who is very competitive there. I said, what's the draw for a rider to go to nationals if there's not media coverage? What do you get out of it other, that's different from another race? And it should be the best competition of our country, but not the best competition doesn't show up because 1, it's expensive, and 2, unless you're maybe winning the Horizon Award that used to be like that you were a shoe-in for maybe an AFT ride, but that's not the case anymore because the AFT rides have shrunk and all the Aussies have taken them over.
What can I say? You're just going to have to lift your game. Maybe the best American riders are going to have to enter to stop that from happening. Maybe that's the problem, because the Aussies are all going over for the AMs, and if it's easy pickings, well, no discredit to our riders. We've got quick riders here, that's for sure. But if you're making it easy for them, that's not great.
No, I think there's more competition. I think in the 65 and 85 class, like Georgie will have, he'll have a true showing of, but in the 50s, I think that the parents, it's usually not worth the money spent to go do it, especially at that age.
Yeah, well, those riders are very young.
Yeah. On the motocross side, you'll never see an empty gate at Loretta Lynn's, which is the amateur national motocross event, but it's because they've created an event that has media presence and eyes on it. And so I think until the AMA puts more effort into that, I don't necessarily think that the turnout will improve. I hope it does, because I think we need a place like that for the best of the best to come together at the amateur level. But it just needs to be beneficial for the riders and the families that are putting so much money.
Yeah, so by the sounds of it, for the folks at home that live close to the AM Nationals or within America that may not be close but can travel within the country, sounds like maybe shortening. I'm probably going to get crucified here because I don't know what I'm talking about, but probably shortening the event to 3 days to lessen the costs, or something, a strategy like that might help bring in some of those gun riders that aren't showing up because of the cost to their wallet. Maybe something like that would be a good suggestion. The Aussies probably won't like that.
Yeah, or run a set of classes for 3 days and then run another set of classes for 3 days if the schedule doesn't allow to get everything done in 3 days, but make it so you don't necessarily have to be there for the whole time. Yeah,
because it is a long time. I mean, for an Aussie rider or a Kiwi rider or someone coming from a different country, that sort of is more attractive because you're going there for a while. You're going to get a bit of sightseeing in, so it's like a racing holiday. You expect to blow a lot of money, put it that way. But
Yes.
if that was in our country, making the time for that sort of period of time is, it's very difficult, and it would be hard to justify the loss of income. And even for us going to Brisbane, that's I had a bad run last year going there. It was basically 20 hours to drive up there. And so I took my middle daughter and we went, you know what, we're just gonna close the doors for another 2 days, and we just really took our time coming home and stopped at beaches and made a holiday out of it. But that was 2 days of loss of income, and yeah, it gets challenging. I couldn't do that. I've put up for other long trips so far this year, so I can do that again with my team this year. And you can't have everything, can you?
No, at some point, and that's what he's teaching me, is you can't do it all. You do have to pick and choose. You can't say yes to everything.
Which
otherwise,
it becomes very hard. I really wanted to support Kelsey and a couple of the other riders again this year, and but my focus is 19-inch, which is the AFTN, and I ran a small race series last year, which the winner won his spot on our team. And I had two riders already, and then another rider, Luke Goff, actually said he'll help me out. He loves what we're doing and stuff, and he's come on board. And then I bought the Harley, so now we've got a team of 5. And I'm going, no, I can't. That with the other 3 development riders, that would be 8. Which is
Yamaha racing team of flat track and Australia.
Sorry, what was that?
The Star Racing Yamaha team that competes in Supercross. They have I don't know.
There's 20 riders on their team. Half the field. No.
Yeah, well, I think 5 is too many. I need to figure out how to whittle it back to 2 without upsetting anyone.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is you don't like disappointing. When you like helping people, you don't like disappointing people. And out that balance is tricky sometimes. But sometimes it is just, putting it out there that if somebody else wants to come aboard to help, you have the platform built, and it's an easy in for somebody else that wants to help donate time, money, effort, whatever it may be that you need. And what we've learned is that if you don't put it out there, that there's an opportunity, then you can't say yes.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to know. So it's just like me wearing my own merchandise.
Yep, exactly.
If I don't do it, no one knows. So. Well, guys, it's been absolutely awesome. Thanks for taking the time. Shane looks like he's ready for bed. I saw the yawn start a while, even though probably not the best promotional tool, Shane, for that drink if you're yawning on it.
Yeah. It's putting me in the mood to relax.
Help you sleep well.
Yeah, well, I got hours of driving tomorrow. We're heading towards the Atlantic. So
is that for racing this weekend, or is this when you're going away?
No,
this is your weekend off.
This is the vacation.
This is just for eating, putting on, some traction, we call that.
Some traction.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a good point. I lost 10 kilos, and I didn't realize it was going to cost me $600 in suspension work. I just thought, I'm getting fit. This is fantastic. And when I can't get any traction, what's going on here? Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so think about it. Seriously, if you're going to lose weight, think about the money on the new suspension. Maybe, just try to keep the weight and get a bit fitter.
I'm just going to mess with my air pressure, but sure.
Yeah, well, definitely that's another way to deal with it.
You just need some flavors. I think that'll fix it.
That's it.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks, guys, so much for coming on. It's been awesome to meet you. And I always get a little bit nervous, to be totally honest, when I've never met someone and it's done through the internet like that. But it's been a very easy podcast, and I feel like we could go for another 2 hours, but you guys definitely going to need your sleep. And I'm actually going indoor skydiving for the first time in about an hour, so I'm stoked on that. So we'll wrap it up, and I'll try to get some editing done, and hopefully we can catch up face to face one day, whether I come across for the AM Nationals or you guys come this way with Owen or yourself. If you ever need a bike or a place to stay, make sure you look us up.
Hey, awesome. We appreciate it. And same to you.
Yeah, very much so. If you're coming for the AM Nationals, you got a place to stay.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, keep it sideways. Until next time, go flat tracker.
Thanks so much, Darcy.
Thank you.
Go flat tracker. Go, flat tracker, go, go, go.